Place your signature here, and perhaps your daughter survives this ordeal. Decline, and they will still claim her, but mercy won't be part of their transaction. Kenneth's fingers shook violently as he gripped the pen above the papers. Rain assaulted the cracked windows of their cramped Benin City dwelling like angry spirits demanding entrance. Across the worn table, two men in designer black suits remained eerily still, their expressions carved from granite. Between them sat a leather briefcase overflowing with documents that would irreversibly alter their existence. "She turns 20 tomorrow," Kenneth whispered, his voice fragmenting like broken glass. 20 years old, barely a woman. The elder Korean gentleman, identified as Mr. Choi, inclined forward. His English flowed with precision, devoid of warmth. "Your local debt collectors have made their intentions abundantly clear, Mr. Kenneth. They desire your daughter for purposes we need not elaborate. Our client presents an alternative arrangement. Legal matrimony, protection under his name, legitimate status in Seoul. The other option involves a cargo container and a trafficking den in Port Harcourt." Lightning split the sky overhead. Kenneth thought of Miriam's terrified eyes that very morning, how she'd flinched when he'd accidentally dropped a plate, how she'd apologized 17 times for something that wasn't remotely her fault. His damaged girl who'd known nothing but fear her entire life. "She's endured enough suffering," he stated, tears mixing with the sweat on his weathered face. "Then grant her this opportunity to endure differently," Mr. Choi responded without inflection. "Sign the papers." The pen scraped across document after document. 3 signatures. 4. 7. A daughter's destiny exchanged for 40 million naira and the fragile illusion that he'd chosen the lesser evil. As Kenneth stumbled into the torrential downpour, he desperately attempted to convince himself this was salvation. He needed that belief because acknowledging the truth would obliterate what remained of his sanity. Behind him, Mr. Choi initiated a phone call. "The transaction is finalized. The girl departs on tomorrow evening's flight. Mr. Lee will receive his bride as arranged." Fade to darkness. The sound of rainfall transitions into muffled sobbing. Miriam Kenneth sat huddled in the corner of her tiny room, knees drawn to her chest, making herself as small as humanly possible. The way she'd learned to become invisible. Outside her door, she could hear her Aunt Martha's voice, sharp and venomous as always, discussing something with her father in heated whispers. "That cursed child murdered my sister, bringing herself into this world," Martha hissed with unmistakable hatred. "My beautiful sister, dead because of her. And now I've wasted 20 years feeding her, housing her. And for what? So she can continue being useless? Please, sister," Kenneth's voice carried defeat. "Tomorrow she'll be gone. You'll never have to see her again. Tomorrow cannot arrive quickly enough." Miriam pressed her hands over her ears, tears sliding silently down her hollow cheeks. She'd heard these words her entire existence. Murderer, burden, mistake. Her aunt had ensured she never forgot that her mother, Martha's beloved younger sister, had bled to death during a complicated childbirth 20 years ago. Every beating, every meal withheld, every cruel word had been Martha's twisted payment for a death Miriam couldn't have prevented. The door burst open without warning. Miriam's body jerked instinctively, head dropping, shoulders curving inward, preparing for whatever punishment approached. "Get up," Martha commanded coldly. "Pack your belongings. You're leaving tomorrow for Korea. You've been sold to some wealthy man there. Perhaps he'll find some use for you since you're worthless here." Miriam's head snapped up, eyes wide with confusion and terror. "Leaving? Korea? Sold? Did I grant you permission to look at me?" Martha's hand connected with Miriam's cheek before the girl could lower her gaze. The familiar sting barely registered anymore. I'm sorry, I'm sorry," Miriam whispered frantically, folding back into herself. "Please forgive me. I didn't mean to. I'm sorry. You'll depart tomorrow evening. A man is marrying you. Be grateful someone is willing to take damaged goods." At this point, if you haven't clicked on the subscribe button, you are so wrong because you are causing Miriam more pain. Click on it now. Let's dive into what happened next. I see you have clicked, and we are now on the same page. Let's go. So, after Martha departed, slamming the door with finality, Miriam remained frozen in her corner. Her meager belongings could fit in a single plastic bag. 3 worn dresses, undergarments with holes, A small wooden cross her father had given her years ago when she'd still believed God might hear prayers from someone like her. She didn't sleep that night. Fear consumed every thought. Who was this man? Would he beat her too? Would it be worse than here? At least here she knew which floorboards creaked, which corners offered the best hiding spots, when to make herself disappear. The following day arrived with cruel brightness. Miriam mechanically folded her few possessions while her father stood in the doorway, unable to meet her eyes. He'd always been weak, never protecting her from Martha's cruelty, but occasionally he'd slip her extra food when his sister wasn't observing. Small mercies from a broken man. "Papa," Miriam whispered, her voice barely audible. "Did I do something wrong? Is that why you're sending me away?" Kenneth's face contorted with something that might have been remorse or relief. "This is for your protection, Miriam. The man you're marrying, he's powerful. He'll provide for you. You'll have a better existence than anything we could offer here. But I don't want to leave," she said, panic rising in her chest. "I'll be better, I promise. I'll work harder. I'll make no mistakes. Please don't send me away. I'm sorry for whatever I did wrong. I'm sorry Mama died. I'm sorry I'm alive. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." Her words dissolved into desperate sobs. Kenneth turned away, unable to witness the devastation he'd authored. That evening, when the black car arrived, Miriam was dragged from the house, while neighbors watched with varying expressions of pity and relief. Martha stood in the doorway, arms crossed, satisfaction evident in her cold eyes. Finally, Martha muttered, 20 years of penance completed. Miriam clung to her father's arm, begging incoherently. "Please, Papa, please don't make me go. I'll improve, I swear it. I won't eat much. I won't speak. I'll sleep outside if necessary. Please, please, please." Kenneth pried her fingers loose, his own hands trembling. "You must go, Miriam. There's no alternative. I'm sorry. I'm truly sorry." The men in suits physically lifted her into the vehicle as she screamed and fought with the desperation of someone facing execution. Through the rain-streaked window, she watched her father grow smaller and smaller until he vanished completely. The last image she retained of home was Martha's satisfied smirk as the door closed. During the 17-hour flight to Seoul, Miriam sat rigidly in her seat, crying silently, hands folded in her lap exactly how Martha had trained her. Don't touch anything unless explicitly permitted. Don't speak unless directly addressed. Make yourself invisible. These were the survival rules she'd memorized. Mr. Choi occupied the adjacent seat, occasionally glancing at her with something resembling clinical curiosity. "Your husband is Mr. Lee Doo Hak," he informed her during the flight. "He's an influential businessman with considerable resources. You will address him as Sir or Mr. Lee. You will not embarrass him. You will not create difficulties. Do you comprehend?" Miriam nodded, head down, hands clasped tighter. When asked a question, you respond verbally. "Yes," she whispered. "I understand. I'm sorry." Seoul materialized beneath them like an alien world constructed of light and steel. Nothing resembled home. Everything appeared too clean, too bright, too vast. Miriam's terror magnified with each passing moment. The mansion emerged from the darkness like something from nightmares disguised as dreams. Enormous iron gates. Security personnel everywhere. Inside, everything gleamed with cold perfection. Marble floors so polished Miriam could see her reflection, a frightened ghost in a tattered dress. A woman with silver hair and a face like winter itself appeared in the entrance hall. "I am Mrs. Shin, the head housekeeper," she announced in heavily accented English, her gaze traveling over Miriam with undisguised contempt. "You will occupy the East Wing. Mr. Lee's private areas are forbidden. You will not wander the grounds unescorted. You will not shame this household. Are these instructions clear?" "Yes, ma'am," Miriam whispered to the floor. "I'm sorry. I'll try not to cause problems. I'm sorry." Mrs. Shin's lips curved into something cruel. "The wedding ceremony commences in 2 hours. Someone will deliver appropriate attire." Miriam was guided to a room 3 times larger than the entire house she'd left behind. The bathroom alone seemed impossibly vast. A young maid with kind eyes brought the wedding dress, traditional Korean hanbok in cream and gold, exquisitely beautiful and entirely foreign. "My name is Yoonji," the maid offered softly in broken English. "I help you dress, okay?" Miriam nodded, afraid to speak, afraid to move. When Yoonji reached to help remove her old dress, Miriam flinched violently, stumbling backward until she hit the wall. I'm sorry, I'll do it myself. I'm sorry for being difficult, Miriam gasped out rapidly. Yoonji's expression softened with understanding. Okay, you do yourself. I wait outside if you need help. Dressing proved nearly impossible with trembling hands. The fabric felt too fine, too expensive. She didn't deserve to touch something so beautiful. Everything about this situation felt wrong, like she was trespassing in a life meant for someone else. The wedding ceremony occurred in a vast room filled with men in dark suits who examined her like merchandise at auction. Miriam kept her eyes fixed downward, unable to raise her gaze even when prompted. She understood none of the Korean being spoken, caught only occasional English words. Contract. Agreement. Payment finalized. When it came time to sign documents, her hand shook so violently that the first signature was barely legible. The officiant spoke in Korean, then translated partially. You may now acknowledge your bride. Miriam sensed someone approaching, but still couldn't summon the courage to look up. Then a hand appeared in her lowered line of vision, palm up, waiting. The voice that accompanied it was deep, controlled, giving nothing away. You may take my hand. We must complete the ceremony. Her fingers barely grazed his palm before pulling back instinctively. I'm sorry, she breathed. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I'm sorry. There was a pause. Then the hand returned, this time gently capturing her trembling fingers. It's acceptable. The ceremony requires this. He guided her through the remaining rituals, positioning her where necessary with clinical efficiency. When the officiant declared them married, her new husband released her hand immediately and addressed the room in Korean. Whatever he said prompted the men to file out, casting final appraising glances in her direction. Only after everyone departed did Miriam finally glimpse the man she'd just married. Lee Doo Hak stood near the windows, tall and imposing in his black suit, his profile sharp enough to cut. He appeared to be in his early 40s, handsome in a harsh, unforgiving way. Everything about him radiated controlled danger. You will remain here tonight, he stated without turning to face her. Your room has been prepared in the East Wing. Mrs. Shin will provide anything you require. I have business to attend to and will return tomorrow. He left without another word, his footsteps echoing through the emptiness. Miriam stood alone in her wedding hanbok, in a country she didn't know, married to a stranger who'd barely looked at her, and felt the last fragment of hope die quietly in her chest. Mrs. Shin appeared like a specter. Come, I'll escort you to your quarters. The room was beautiful, luxurious, terrifying. Miriam stood just inside the doorway, afraid to step further, afraid to touch anything. The bathroom is through there, Mrs. Shin indicated with a sharp gesture. Dinner will be delivered at 8. Mr. Lee expects you to maintain yourself appropriately. Don't make him regret this arrangement. After Mrs. Shin departed, Miriam remained frozen. The bathroom gleamed with fixtures she didn't recognize. The bed looked too soft, too clean. She didn't belong on furniture this fine. Instead, she carefully folded her small plastic bag of possessions in the corner and sat on the floor beside it, knees to chest, making herself small. This felt safer, familiar. When dinner arrived, delivered by Yoonji, Miriam stared at the elaborate Korean dishes without moving. You must eat, Yoonji urged gently. Food will get cold. I'm sorry, Miriam whispered. I didn't ask for this. I shouldn't take it. I'm sorry. But Mr. Lee ordered it for you. It's for you to eat. Miriam shook her head frantically. I can't. I didn't earn it. I'm sorry. I'm not hungry. I'm sorry for wasting it. Yoonji left reluctantly, returning the untouched food to the kitchen where Mrs. Shin received the news with a vindictive smile. Perfect. She's already creating problems. That night, Miriam attempted to use the bathroom, but couldn't understand the shower's complex fixtures. The toilet seemed too elaborate. Everything was too much. Eventually, she gave up and curled on the floor in the corner of the bedroom, using her old dress as a pillow, and cried herself into fitful sleep. Morning arrived with harsh sunlight. Miriam woke disoriented, body aching from sleeping on hard marble. She could hear movement in the hallway, voices speaking rapid Korean. Terror seized her, the kind she'd learned meant someone was angry. The door opened suddenly, violently. Mrs. Shin stood there with 2 other staff members, her face contorted with rage. You ungrateful creature, she spat in English. You refused the food. You didn't use the bedroom. You sleep on the floor like an animal. What's wrong with you? I'm sorry, Miriam gasped, making herself smaller. I didn't mean to cause problems. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Mr. Lee has been notified of your behavior. He's extremely displeased. The words sent ice through Miriam's veins. She knew what happened when men were displeased. She knew about fists and belts and being locked in dark spaces without food. Her body began to shake uncontrollably. Get up, Mrs. Shin commanded. You need to bathe. Now. Miriam scrambled to her feet, but couldn't approach the bathroom. I don't, she started, voice cracking. I don't know how to use those things. May I please have a bucket? And perhaps a smaller bathroom? I'm sorry for asking. I'm sorry. Mrs. Shin's laugh was sharp and cruel. A bucket? You think this is some village? You're Mrs. Lee now. Act like it. But I don't know how. Miriam's voice broke completely. Please, I've never seen anything like this before. I don't want to break anything. Please, just a bucket and I'll manage. I'm sorry for being so much trouble. The commotion attracted more staff. Whispers spread. The new mistress is insane. She sleeps on floors. She refuses food. She's asking for buckets. Mrs. Shin made a phone call, her tone dripping with false concern as she reported to Lee Doo Hak. Sir, my apologies for disturbing you, but the situation with your bride has become problematic. She's refusing to eat, won't use the facilities, and is making unreasonable demands. She's quite unstable, I'm afraid. Across the city, in a hotel room that smelled of expensive perfume and poor decisions, Lee Doo Hak answered his phone with considerable irritation. He'd spent his wedding night exactly how he'd spent countless nights since his wife's death 3 years prior, burying grief in meaningless encounters with women who asked nothing of him. What's the issue? He demanded, already reaching for his clothes. After Mrs. Shin explained, anger flared hot in his chest. He'd paid substantial money for this arrangement, and the girl couldn't even manage basic functions? This was exactly why he'd wanted nothing to do with her, why he'd left immediately after the ceremony. She was supposed to be simple, undemanding, invisible. I'm returning now, he stated coldly. Don't let her leave that room. The drive home took 30 minutes. With each passing minute, his anger intensified. He'd been very clear about his requirements. The girl was meant to be a convenient legal arrangement, nothing more. Her resemblance to his late wife Sua was the only reason he'd agreed to this ridiculous marriage in the first place. Some pathetic hope that seeing her face might ease the constant ache in his chest. But if she was going to be difficult, if she was going to demand attention and create problems, he had no patience for it. He stormed into the mansion and up to the east wing, Mrs. Shin and several staff members trailing behind. When he threw open the bedroom door, prepared to deliver a harsh reprimand, the words died in his throat. Miriam was pressed into the corner, curled so tightly she seemed to be trying to disappear into the wall itself. Her entire body shook with violent tremors. When she saw him, terror flooded her features so completely that she looked like she might stop breathing. Please, she whispered, the word barely audible. Please don't hurt me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for everything. I'll try harder. I'll do better. Please don't. I'm sorry. Something in her absolute fear penetrated his anger. This wasn't defiance. This wasn't manipulation. This was genuine, bone-deep terror. Lee Doo Hak's expression shifted as he took in the scene properly. The untouched bed, the plastic bag of belongings in the corner, the girl who'd slept on a marble floor in a mansion with 20 empty bedrooms. Everyone leave, he ordered quietly in Korean. Now. But sir, Mrs. Shin protested. She needs to be disciplined. She's being disrespectful to your household. I said leave. His voice carried lethal authority. Mrs. Shin and the others scattered immediately. Alone with her, Lee Doo Hak approached slowly, the way one might approach a wounded animal. Miriam's breathing accelerated to hyperventilation, her eyes squeezed shut, entire body braced for impact. I'm not going to harm you, he said, forcing his tone into something less harsh. Look at me. She couldn't. Her training was too deep. Never look directly at those in authority. Never meet their eyes. He crouched to her level, still maintaining distance. Mrs. Shin informed me you're having difficulties. That you won't eat or bathe. Is this accurate? A tiny nod, head still down. Why? I don't. Her voice fractured. I don't know how to use those things. I've never seen anything like them before. And the food, I didn't ask for it. I don't deserve it. I'm sorry. I'm just sorry for existing. I'm sorry you're stuck with me. Something twisted painfully in his chest. You don't know how to use a shower? Head shake. I'm sorry. In my father's house, we had a bucket and a cup. And a small outhouse. I've never. She swallowed hard. Everything here is too nice. I'm afraid I'll break something, and then you'll be angry, and I'll have to pay for it somehow, and I have nothing, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Lee Doo Hak felt his anger transforming into something more complex. Show me your arms, he commanded. She extended them mechanically, sleeves pulled down, body still trembling. Roll up your sleeves. No. Please, panic flooded her voice. Please don't make me. I'm sorry. Please. Do it. Now. With agonizing slowness, she rolled up her sleeves. Her forearms were a map of old scars. Burn marks. Healed cuts. Evidence of systematic abuse. Turn around. Please. Tears streamed down her face now. Please, I'll do anything else. Please don't make me show you. But he'd already seen enough to guess. He stood, moved to the bathroom, and returned with a robe. Put this on and come with me. I'm going to show you how the bathroom works. She stood on unsteady legs, clutching the robe like a shield. When he moved toward the bathroom, she followed several steps behind, posture screaming submission and fear. The bathroom was vast and gleaming. Lee Doo Hak approached the shower, demonstrating each control with patient precision. This handle controls temperature. This one controls pressure. You turn them this way to start the water, this way to stop. Do you understand? Miriam nodded, trying to memorize every movement. The toilet is simple. You press this button to flush. The sink functions like any sink. Are you comprehending this? Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. I'm sorry for causing you this inconvenience. Stop apologizing for everything. He surprised himself with the words. Now, you need to bathe. I'll wait outside. But as she reached to close the door, he glimpsed her back through the gap in her clothing. The robe had slipped, revealing skin covered in scars. Stripe marks from what must have been belts or canes. Some old and silvered. Some still red and healing. Rage unlike anything he'd felt in years exploded through him. His hand shot out, stopping the door. Who did that to you? Miriam's response was immediate and devastating. She dropped to her knees, hands over her head, body curled into protective position, sobbing. I'm sorry, please don't. I'm sorry I showed you. I didn't mean to. Please forgive me. I'll do better. I'm sorry. His anger wasn't directed at her, and she thought he was furious with her existence. Lee Doo Hak forced himself to breathe, to control the violence churning through him. Very slowly, he knelt beside her. Listen to me carefully, he said, each word deliberate. I am not angry at you. Do you understand? You've done nothing wrong. I'm angry at whoever hurt you. Not at you. Never at you. She continued sobbing, unable to process his words. He did something he hadn't done since his wife died. He reached out with genuine gentleness and carefully touched her shoulder. She flinched but didn't pull away. You're safe now, he continued, voice softer than it had been in 3 years. You're mine now. That means you're under my protection. No one in this house will harm you. No one outside this house can reach you. You're safe. Do you understand? You're safe. The words seemed to penetrate slowly. Her sobbing decreased to hiccuping breaths. Look at me, he commanded gently. Please. Miriam raised her eyes fractionally. When their gazes met, something passed between them. Recognition of pain. Acknowledgement of brokenness. I need to help you bathe, he stated. Your wounds need proper treatment. Will you permit this? It wasn't really a question, but he asked anyway. She nodded numbly, too exhausted to resist. He helped her remove her clothing with clinical efficiency, though his jaw clenched tighter with each new scar revealed. Then he carefully guided her under the warm water, washing away days of travel and years of abuse with surprising gentleness. When he applied antibiotic cream to the fresher wounds, she whimpered but didn't pull away. When he wrapped her in a soft towel and led her back to the bedroom, she followed like a lost child. He dressed her in clean pajamas from the wardrobe, then turned to address her directly. Everything in this house is for your use, he stated firmly. The bed, the bathroom, the food, all of it. You don't need permission to eat. You don't need permission to sleep comfortably. You don't need to earn basic human necessities. You're my wife. That means you have rights here. Do you comprehend? She nodded slowly, processing information that contradicted 20 years of conditioning. From this moment forward, you will eat 3 meals daily. You will sleep in the bed. You will use the facilities. You will not sleep on floors. You will not apologize constantly. These are not requests. These are instructions. Can you follow them? I'll try, sir, she whispered. I'll really try. But if I make mistakes, please tell me. I learn quickly from corrections. I promise. Something in his chest cracked further. What's your name? He asked suddenly. Your full name. Miriam Kenneth, sir. But you can call me whatever you prefer. I'll answer to anything. Miriam, he said slowly, testing it. I'm Lee Doo Hak. You may call me Doo Hak when we're alone. Mr. Lee in front of others. But you will call me something. You're not a servant. You're my wife. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Doo Hak SSI. Close enough. He almost smiled. Now, I'm going to order food. You will eat it. All of it. Understood? Yes, Doo Hak SSI. When the food arrived, he sat across from her at the small table, watching as she picked at the rice with visible anxiety. Each bite seemed to require enormous courage. Is it not to your taste? He asked. No, it's wonderful, she said quickly. I've never had anything so delicious. I'm just not accustomed to eating without permission. I'm trying to adjust. I'm sorry it's taking me time. You have permanent permission, he stated. Eat. She managed half the meal before her stomach and used to regular food, protested. He didn't push further. That night, he stayed in the East Wing, sleeping in an adjacent room rather than returning to his usual quarters. Partly to ensure she actually used the bed, partly because something in him couldn't leave her alone yet. She was too fragile, too damaged. Around 3 in the morning, he heard crying. Soft, muffled sobs through the connecting door. He found her sitting on the floor beside the bed, hugging her knees. Why aren't you in the bed? He demanded more sharply than intended. She flinched. I'm sorry. I tried. I laid there for hours, but it felt wrong. Like I was stealing something that wasn't mine. I'm sorry. I'll keep trying. I promise. Lee Doo Hak's sigh carried the weight of unexpected responsibility. He'd intended this marriage to be paper only. A legal arrangement to facilitate business dealings in West Africa. The girl was supposed to be invisible, undemanding. Instead, she was broken in ways that made his protective instincts roar to life for the first time since losing his family. Come here, he ordered. She scrambled to her feet, approaching hesitantly. He pulled back the bed covers. Get in. When she climbed in reluctantly, he sat on the edge of the mattress, maintaining appropriate distance. You're exhausted. You need sleep. Close your eyes. But I can't, she whispered. When I close my eyes, I remember things. Bad things. Then I'll remain here until you sleep. Close your eyes, Miriam. Slowly, she obeyed. Her breathing gradually evened out, though her body remained tense. He found himself speaking without planning to, his voice low and steady. When I was young, perhaps 7 years old, I was terrified of darkness. My father would sit beside my bed exactly like this and talk until I fell asleep. He'd tell stories about brave warriors and wise kings. Foolish tales, but they helped. He continued speaking, sharing memories he hadn't voiced in decades, until her breathing deepened into genuine sleep. Even then, he remained for another hour, watching this broken girl who'd somehow become his responsibility. The following morning, Lee Doo Hak made several phone calls. The first was to Mrs. Shin, informing her in language that permitted no misunderstanding that any staff member who showed disrespect to his wife would be immediately terminated. The second was to his personal physician, requesting a complete medical evaluation for Miriam. The third was to his assistant, canceling all appointments for the next week. When Miriam woke, she found him working at the desk in her room, laptop open, phone pressed to his ear, conducting business in rapid Korean. The moment she stirred, he ended his call. Good morning, he stated. How did you sleep? Better than usual, Doo Hak SSI. Thank you for staying. You didn't have to. I determined it was necessary. His tone remained formal, businesslike. Today, Dr. Park will examine you. He's trustworthy and discreet. He'll evaluate your injuries and provide proper treatment. Fear flickered across her features. A doctor? Your wounds require professional attention. This isn't negotiable. Dr. Park arrived mid-morning, a grandfatherly man with kind eyes who spoke gentle English. He examined Miriam thoroughly while Lee Doo Hak remained present at her silent, pleading request. The doctor's expression grew progressively grimmer. Afterward, in the hallway, Dr. Park spoke bluntly in Korean. That girl has been systematically tortured. Multiple healed fractures. Extensive scarring. Signs of prolonged malnutrition. She's severely traumatized, Doo Hak. Whoever arranged this marriage did you no favors. I'm aware, Lee Doo Hak responded coldly. Can you treat her physical injuries? Yes, but the psychological damage will require significant time and professional help. I recommend a trauma therapist immediately. Arrange it. Over the following days, a strange routine developed. Lee Doo Hak found himself spending increasingly more time in the East Wing, drawn by something he couldn't name. Miriam shadowed him everywhere he permitted, clearly feeling safe only in his presence. When he worked, she sat quietly nearby, reading English-language books he provided. When he ate, she ate across from him, slowly learning to consume food without guilt. When he walked the grounds, she followed 3 steps behind until he ordered her to walk beside him. Mrs. Shin and the other staff observed this development with thinly veiled contempt, but they'd received their instructions. Disrespect the new mistress, lose your position. It was sufficient motivation for superficial courtesy. One afternoon, Lee Doo Hak discovered Miriam in the kitchen, watching the cook prepare lunch with fascination. Do you cook? He asked. Her head dropped immediately. A little, Doo Hak SSI. My aunt taught me basic things, but I'm not very skilled. I'm sorry if I'm disturbing the staff. I'll leave. You're not disturbing anyone. Do you enjoy cooking? She hesitated, clearly uncertain if honesty was permitted. When my mother was alive, before I was born, my aunt says she loved cooking. Sometimes when I cook, I imagine I'm connecting with her somehow. It's foolish, I know. It's not foolish. Would you like to learn Korean cooking? Her eyes widened with surprise and longing. Could I? I mean, if it's allowed. If it wouldn't create problems. He spoke to the cook in Korean, making arrangements. Miriam would observe and learn. The cook, an older woman named Mrs. Han, seemed pleased to have an eager student. That evening, Miriam prepared her first Korean dish under Mrs. Han's guidance. Kimchi jjigae, a spicy stew that filled the kitchen with mouth-watering aromas. Lee Doo Hak ate 3 bowls, surprising everyone including himself. This is excellent, he stated. You learn quickly. Miriam's small smile was the first genuine happiness he'd witnessed from her. Thank you, Doo Hak SSI. I'm glad it pleases you. Something twisted in his chest again. That smile, fragile and real, did something to him he wasn't prepared to examine. But his old habits died hard. That week, he returned to his previous patterns, meeting a woman at a hotel, seeking the empty comfort of physical release without emotional connection. He told himself it was because touching Miriam seemed wrong. She was too damaged, too vulnerable. He'd break her completely. When he returned home the following morning, Miriam was in the garden, sitting on a bench, watching birds. Her face lit up when she saw him approaching, genuine joy transforming her features. For a moment, she looked almost beautiful. She stood, moving toward him with uncharacteristic eagerness. Doo Hak SSI, you're home. I was worried because you were gone all night, and I thought perhaps something had happened, and I didn't know if I should call someone or if that would be inappropriate, and her words stopped abruptly. She'd drawn close enough to see the lipstick mark on his collar. Coral pink, bright against his white shirt. Her expression shattered like dropped glass. Miriam backed away rapidly, stumbling slightly, hand pressed to her mouth. I'm sorry, she gasped. I shouldn't have presumed. I'm sorry for bothering you. I'll go back inside. I'm sorry. She fled before he could respond, leaving him standing there with the physical evidence of his betrayal burning against his skin like a brand. Lee Doo Hak remained frozen, watching her disappear into the mansion. The joy on her face when she'd seen him, the light in her eyes, and then the devastation when she'd noticed the lipstick. As if he'd struck her. Why did that pain him? She was just the contract wife, the legal arrangement, the business decision. But she wasn't just that anymore, was she? Somewhere in the past week, she'd become something more. Someone who waited for him. Someone who smiled when he returned. Someone who made his empty house feel less like a mausoleum. Should he follow her? What would his guards think if he did? Would they think he had become weak? Hey lovelies, we have come to the end of the first part of this amazing story. If you need the second part, comment just that, subscribe, like, and turn on your notifications for when it'll be dropped. You definitely want to know if Lee Doo Hak's pride allowed him to follow his shy wife into the house. See you in the next part.